Close your eyes and think of a soda. What color do you see? Red or blue? For over a century, you haven't just been choosing a drink, you've been picking a side in the most expensive, aggressive, and psychologically manipulative war in human history. This isn't about sugar and water, it's about a 100-year-old battle for your identity. From secret formulas and billion-dollar marketing blunders to actual military navies and space missions, the rivalry between Coca-Cola and Pepsi has shaped modern capitalism. Today, we go beyond the bubbles to uncover how these two giants hacked your brain to ensure that no matter where you are on Earth, you are never more than 5 minutes away from a cold Coke or Pepsi. Welcome to the 100-Year War. Our story begins in 1886. John Pemberton, a pharmacist, created a caramel-colored syrup in a brass kettle. His secret ingredient? The coca leaf. Yes, it contained actual cocaine back then. It was marketed as a brain tonic to cure headaches and fatigue. Coca-Cola was an instant hit. But 12 years later, in a North Carolina pharmacy, Caleb Broadham created Brad's drink, later renamed Pepsi-Cola. Pepsi was the underdog from day one. While Coke was becoming the American standard, Pepsi was struggling to survive. In fact, during the Great Depression, Pepsi went bankrupt not once, but 3 times. Between 1922 and 1933, the owners of Pepsi offered to sell the company to Coca-Cola on 3 separate occasions. Coke's leadership, arrogant in their dominance, looked at the struggling Pepsi and said no. That no remains the biggest mistake in business history. It forced Pepsi to innovate. They started selling 12-ounce bottles for 5 cents, while Coke sold 6 ounces for the same price. Their jingle, "Twice as much for a nickel too," became the first viral marketing hit, targeting the budget-conscious working class. The war was officially on. Fast forward to 1975, Coca-Cola was the undisputed king, but Pepsi launched a psychological weapon that would shake the industry to its core: the Pepsi Challenge. It was a simple blind taste test. People were asked to sip from 2 unmarked cups and pick their favorite. The results were shocking. In mall after mall across America, people chose Pepsi. Why? Because Pepsi is slightly sweeter, and in a single sip test, the brain naturally prefers a higher hit of sugar. Coke's executives panicked. They saw their market share slipping. In a desperate move to stay ahead, they did the unthinkable. On April 23, 1985, they discontinued the original Coca-Cola formula and launched New Coke, a sweeter version designed to beat Pepsi at its own game. The backlash was instant and violent. Thousands of protest letters flooded their headquarters. People were hoarding old Coke in their basements as if it were gold. It was a marketing disaster. But here's the twist. 79 days later, Coke brought back the original formula as Coca-Cola Classic. Sales skyrocketed. Some analysts believe this was a genius move to make people realize how much they loved the brand. Whether it was a mistake or a masterstroke, it proved one thing: people don't buy Coke for the taste, they buy it for the feeling of nostalgia. Pepsi decided to own the future. They branded themselves as the choice of a new generation. They spent hundreds of millions hiring the biggest stars of the era: Michael Jackson, Britney Spears, David Beckham. If you were young, cool, and rebellious, you drank Pepsi. Coca-Cola took the opposite approach. They branded themselves as the heritage. They claimed Christmas by making the modern image of Santa Claus red and white. They focused on family, peace, and the real thing. This is a classic case of brand positioning. Pepsi is the challenger, fast, loud, and celebrity-driven. Coke is the establishment, warm, reliable, and timeless. Your brain doesn't just process the flavor, it processes the social status attached to the logo. Scientists have actually put people in MRI machines while they drank both. When people knew they were drinking Coke, the part of the brain associated with memories and emotions lit up. When they drank Pepsi, the part associated with reward and taste lit up. Coke had successfully colonized human memory. This war wasn't limited to American malls. It went global.
During the Cold War, Pepsi made a historic deal to enter the Soviet Union. Since Russian rubles couldn't be exchanged internationally, Pepsi traded soda for Stolichnaya vodka. At one point, the deal was so big that the Soviet Union traded Pepsi a fleet of 17 submarines, a cruiser, a frigate, and a destroyer, in exchange for more syrup. For a few days, Pepsi owned the sixth largest navy in the world. Coke was focused on ubiquity. Their goal was to be within an arm's reach of desire. They followed the U.S. military during World War II, setting up bottling plants wherever soldiers went, ensuring that Coke became synonymous with freedom across Europe and Asia. Today, both companies are more than just soda brands. They're massive conglomerates owning everything from Lay's chips, PepsiCo, to Costa Coffee, Coca-Cola. They use supply chain dominance to ensure that smaller competitors can never get enough shelf space. It's not just a war of ads, it's a war of shelf real estate. So after 100 years, who won? In terms of revenue, PepsiCo is often larger because of its massive food business. In terms of brand value, Coca-Cola remains the king. But the real winner is marketing. These two companies taught the world that you can take two almost identical products and convince 8 billion people that they are fundamentally different. They proved that if you repeat a message long enough, it becomes part of a culture. Next time you reach for a red can or a blue bottle, ask yourself, is this your choice, or is it the result of a century of psychological warfare?